talk about the sequencer, which is this button over here, SQNCR, which is short for sequencer. If you press it, you have a note sequencer. Now, like so many different elements of this synthesizer, there is a button here which will flip the page for you, which is something you want to do because length of your sequence is probably the thing you want to start with. So in this length setting, you get to decide up to 32 steps what you want. I'm going to set it to 8 because, come on, I don't have all day to sit through 32 steps for this. I'm just kidding. I do. I don't have anything else better to do. Okay. Then, of course, you're presented with this interface, which allows you to choose which step you're on, allows you to choose which octave, allows you to choose which note, and allows you to choose which the gate length and the velocity, which we'll talk about. So, step 1, let us, I'm going to stay around 2, I think. Step 1, I'm going to choose a D in the second octave. Actually, let's make that 1. I'm not sure where these octaves lie. It's just basically 0 and then plus, plus, plus. So it's not like they're set up starting at like C4 or something. They're just octaves. So I'm going to take the plus 1 octave, the first note D, the gate. I'm going to choose 50. Whoops. So, okay, I'm just going to go through this. You have up to 6 octaves to choose from. I'm going to choose the first octave. You have 12 notes to choose from. I'm going to choose D because that's the kind of guy I am. Gate allows you to go from a gate length, which is midland, up to a gate length that is a tie. If you turn it all the way up past 99, at 100 it's a tie, and that will connect that to the next note. Or you can go all the way down to 0, which is a rest. So if you want to insert a rest or you want to tie a note, this is like a super easy way to make that choice instead of holding buttons down or whatever. For right now, I'm just going to go with the middle setting. Velocity. Now you have a velocity of 0 to 100, but to set velocity, you have to go into the menu function, which you get when you're not in sequencer and you press this button. And you have to go in and set the velocity setting of individual functions that you intend to use the velocity on. So I'm just going to leave that at 50 and not mess with it. We go into the next section, which just covers length. DVS is divisions. So you get to decide whether these are eighth notes or quarter notes or 16th notes, whatever you want to decide. Let's see what options we have. We have up to 30-second notes, quarter notes, all the way up to 30-second notes. I'm going to put it on eighth notes, which is really nice because if you're at a particular tempo, which we can set just by turning the knob at this point, a lot of times your tempo doesn't reflect. Like if you're at 120 and you have eighth notes and it's playing the 120 tempo, they're not really eighth notes, are they? They're actually quarter notes. So it gets confusing, but this fixes that and allows you to define what the note value is to the tempo, which in this case represents quarter notes. Probability is also cool too. 100% probability means you have 100% probability that this note is going to play. But if you set that to something else, there's a chance it won't play. So then you'll get some variation in your sequencing, which is really nice. And then here at the end is swing, which you can add an element of swing going from 50 to 75, which is also nice. It's nice to have a swinging sequence. All right, so I've chosen that D. So I'm going to go to the next step, which is 2. The octave I'm going to put this time as 2, and I'm going to press D again, which would be an octave above the last D. I'm going to not, I'm going to not tie it and just put it at 50 again. And velocity, I'm going to leave it 50. I'm pretty sure that the probability is for the sequence overall. And it just will have a certain percentage of whether a note plays. So let's go on to the next step. I'm going to do 3, and the octaves, I'm going to go back. I'm going to stay at 2, and this time I'm going to do a C. And I'm not going to tie. I'm going to go to 50 again. Well, actually, let's do a longer note and see what happens there. I'm going to go to 4, and the octave, I'm going to go back down to +1, and I'm going to do a D again, and then I'm going to tie, and then I'm going to go to 5, octave 1 again, D again, and not tie because we've already tied to that guy. So I'm going to go to like a really, just do a 50, and then let's do step 6 where octave, I'm going to do 1, and I'm going to do an E, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to rest 7. I'm going to do octave 1, and it's going to be an A. And a little bit longer, we'll do 75. We'll be crazy. And then 8. Let's just do an F just to be totally crazy. And that'll be in plus again. And this time we'll do a shorter note there. Okay, so to play, you have to go to this button, which has a play and stop. And let's see what I've done. Not bad. And of course, you can adjust the tempo. Now let's see what happens if we go in here and we adjust the division. And now let's hear the probability. So you can hear doing that probability thing takes that very boring 8-step sequence, spices it up and makes it sound like there are more steps than we're actually playing, which is cool, which is really cool. If you've got like 32 and you do that, you're going to get a much more complex sort of situation. And it's cool that when you shift the divisions, you can literally hear it jumping from quarter note to 8th note to 16th note to 32nd note in relationship to the tempo that is static and global. So that is basically, well, not basically, that is literally the sequencer. Now I want you to imagine how this can interrelate with the modulators, because you can set them to sync and a lot of interesting things could happen. So that is the sequencer.